So, we have been dealing with fire season, so I figured it's time to talk about fire, both externally and internally. So, this is Jim Ventura, professional astrologer, navigational consultant, work with lots of different types of oracles, info about my sessions, and all that other good stuff as a writer. It can be found at jimventura.com. And if you like the video, subscribe, obviously, and I do one about a month. So I thought really important to begin to talk about the fire element. Obviously, we've got earth, air, fire, and water elements to us. And, much of that can be read astrologically. People have a lot of fire in the chart, a lot of water in the chart. People have, more splay charts where there's, multiple types of energies, and you can feel that in a person's personality. People with a lot of fire can be very, very charismatic, very strong-willed, brave, have a lot of vitality to them. But we've all got some of this divvied up within our astrological charts as well as in ourselves. And so what do we mean when someone's fire is out of balance, or someone's fire energy is out of control? So there's some pretty obvious signs of that. It can play itself off as being, on the extreme side, being angry, pissed off, destructive, relentless, that burn it all down type of mentality, being ill-tempered, charring everything around us, everyone and everything around us. That's one element of it. But also, there's another element to having one's fire energy off. It typically connects with repressing a good deal of anger. Obviously, we discussed that just before this about, when it's an extreme. But what about if one is lacking in energy, finding it hard to get motivated, excited? This can play itself out as being passive and weak and afraid of trying things and being brave. Again, the other side of that, of course, is having too much nervous energy, being overexcited, unable to sleep, concentrate, or even relax. So, it can be an issue to keep your fire energy in balance. And unfortunately, there are ways to solve that, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But what is the benefit of having, focused, strong, healthy fire energy? One of those things, of course, is, accomplishing tasks and goals. Think of like a laser-like precision to get things done. Strong fire is like, when you step into a room, you light it up, like lighting up a torch. We can have a warm energy, even being hot, so to speak. But, easily taking positions of leadership, having strong vitality. All those good things are in play when our fire energy is strong and it is in balance and not tipping in extreme directions. So this is one of the reasons why it's good to kind of be aware of this. Different modems and ways of healing operate. Sometimes people go to an acupuncturist or a Reiki master or a healer in other ways, and they'll say that one's fire is off. So that's kind of what they mean in that way. Again, too much fire or too little, leaving us out of balance. So again, talk about some suggestions on healing that in a minute here. But let's take a look at this in another place. We obviously have this individually where, too much fire, too little fire playing itself out in the ways we've described. But also look at the world at large. I think we've been so taught to be separate from nature and the world. And that's really a very wrong approach. Our collective energies not only affect us all individually and in terms of the people around us and our family and our friendships and relationships, but also, again, the world at large, collectively. So when we look at something like fire season happening, obviously there's a physicality of that. People starting fires one way or another, campfires or sparks from a car or lightning, striking. There's multiple ways that fire can start during fire seasons, and they've been all over the place in the West the last couple of months. But you can look at it another way. If there's a lot of collected anger and resentment and fear and frustration, This can result in increased fire season. Again, the practicality and the spiritual, energetic things are not separate. We've been taught to kind of see life that way, and that's sort of silly. We collectively create the weather just as much as we do everything else. So think of fire seasons in areas where this is hitting as people sort of exploding with repressed anger or too much anger, and that takes a physical form. Unfortunately, it's causing tremendous damage, in some cases burning down areas of land and, people sadly losing homes or property. And, you can even get into this individually. Everyone participates for their own reasons, not certainly consciously if they go through a difficulty like that, but there is a larger order going on here as being part of this physical world. And all the elements have a destructiveness potentially about them. Water, you can have floods and tidal waves and drought. You can have earthquakes and landslides. Air, obviously hurricanes and tornadoes and various things like that, and also beautiful breezes and wind in a good way, and with water, obviously luscious rain and abundant vegetation from that rain. Same with fire or earth. They have positive characteristics, but again, they can tilt to the negative. So try to think that way a little bit. Sometimes you can sense that in a town or an area where this is happening. Again, we've not been taught to view life from this lens, although it does intuitively make sense to most of us. We can sense anger in a community and in an area, or unrepressed energy. So again, same thing both in ourselves and in the world at large. So, I tell people this to try to get them to tune into a larger picture and to understand how, again, we are part of the landscape as much as everything else is, where it's natural, it's animals and earth and all those other good things. So what's a way to fix our fire when our fire is out of balance? Again, you've got acupuncture, can be effective, Reiki, obviously meditation. Some people work with crystals. There's all different types of ways, even massage. There's all different types of ways to relax or work at rebalancing one's fire. Again, meditation in various forms is extremely effective. But one thing I'd also say is just therapeutically. Sometimes through just talking to someone, a therapist, talking about what you're angry about or what you're fearful about or where this energy is repressed, and having someone help you transform that can be incredibly powerful. That's a big part of the work that I do. People think they come to me for readings and, tarot and rune stones and animal cards, and I do that to a large extent, but it's more about the therapy of changing a point of view, of transforming the self. I think that's a more important part of what I enjoy doing with my clients, and what I also attempt to do as a writer is help transform the way people see and view things. So, you're not stuck if your fire energy is out of balance. There are ways to transform that. So, think about that. And again, you can be, I said, if we can turn, I said to a fire sign friend of mine, I said, the beauty of turning fire from a negative and anger is being charismatic. And that's a powerful thing to be able to have access to in the way we influence people. So, just good food for thought, getting a hold of your fire. So, Jim Ventura, if you like the videos, obviously subscribe. Feel free to pass these along to other people. Also, you get information about my services at jimventura.com. And as I always suggest, you can email me and get added to my newsletter mailing list to get my every other month snake oil column, which is a great read and also gives you access to discounts and specials and good stuff connected with my work and services. And you can check out my books at Amazon as well. And till next time, let's keep our fire in check, but let's also keep our fire, inspiring everyone around us. Cheers.